welcome back to Next Tech. I'm Tim.
I'm Nick.
And if you just don't know, you can follow me, Mr. Gallus, on social media.
Or Ndrisang on Twitter.
Right. Don't forget, of course, we're on YouTube. You may be watching this on YouTube, but you can also catch us now on podcast formats. We got Podbean, which is kind of like, we're going to shout out to that for hosting us.
Oh, heck yeah.
Also, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. So any one of those, you can look for us.
Tim's been very busy.
Yes, I have.
And today we have a special guest with us.
We do. Oh, well, first off, follow us on, if you want to. We also have a social media for Next Tech.
That's right.
Which is Next Tech YO for both of those, where we are on Twitter and Instagram. And then also we want to shout out to Microsoft Teams today for making this interview possible. Because we do, like Nick said, have a special guest today.
And this is Kozma.
Yay, welcome, Anne!
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to be here. Nick and Tim, thank you for having me on Next Tech.
Oh, we are so excited that you are with us today because our special topic for today is social media. And we figured out we needed somebody who's like a bona fide expert at social media somewhat because she's on there a lot for her job and everything like this. So this is why we decided to have Anne on as our special guest.
I feel like if there was a degreed professional for social media, it'd probably be Anne.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree. Do you feel like that, Anne?
That's a super cool and random compliment. Thank you. I don't know that I'm an expert. I guess I could only use that quote to say I'm passionately curious. So I love being connected and live a better together mindset, and social media allows for that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think we also want to mention too, but I think everybody knows, and so we don't have to spend a ton of time start by kind of introducing you, because I'm sure a lot of people know you through social media, or maybe they've seen you at an expo hall at one of the conferences, and they know that you are just one of the friendliest faces out there. And I just have to say, genuinely, one of the coolest people that I think we've ever met, because you are just so friendly and you're just right there with everybody, and you are so inviting and have so much energy to give off that I think it's just very inspiring for educators.
Well, thank you. That's a nice compliment. And just filled my bucket, so thanks.
There you go. And very happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Hey!
My first time ever meeting you was at Flipgrid had a what was that thing called?
I don't know if we actually met. It was the Speakeasy.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Yeah,
we saw you there.
You went up on stage and you were singing.
It was Whitney Houston.
That's right.
I want to dance with somebody who loves me. Yep,
yes.
that's my karaoke jam.
Well, now we have enough radio stations in Casper that they play more 80s songs now. So every time I hear that song, the only person I envision now singing it is you.
Awesome.
So, it's just a good thing. You wouldn't think you would hear that song very often, but I swear it comes on the radio way more than it should sometimes. So.
That's too funny.
Yeah. All right, so Anne, we want you to kind of start off. Like I said, we don't probably have to spend a ton of time doing the introduction thing, but can you give us a little background on you? Because we know you're an education innovation lead at Flipgrid, but tell us a little bit about what that means for your job.
Yeah, so this summer it'll be 2 years since I joined Team Flipgrid as one of the educator innovation leads. It means I'm a teacher helping teachers, and I get to share, celebrate, and showcase the incredible work, help amplify the stories, and the innovative ways that educators are empowering every voice in their learning community with Flipgrid and beyond. So I love being a teacher helping teachers. Prior to joining the team, I was a teacher on special assignment in Southern California and was supporting 20 schools in my district with the innovative use of technology. And prior to that, I was a classroom teacher, and in the classroom for 10 years with my young scholars. I taught first grade for the majority of that time. And I wanted learning to come alive for my students and build a solid academic foundation, but I wanted school to be fun. So I kind of think that my wacky, zany personality maybe helped students have fun and lay that academic foundation. And I love to infuse that into the work that I do, because I feel like play is our brain's favorite way of learning. So I love to have fun and play to learn.
I think I would like to be in your classroom.
Yeah. I can agree with you more. Play is one of the best ways to learn new topics and get engaged. So,
yeah, very true.
For sure.
Okay. So tell us a little bit. I know this last month or so has been kind of busy for you, but can you tell us what you've been up to lately?
So my word for 2020 in the best way is bonkers. It's been bonkers so far. Totally epic on the level of getting to connect with educators all around. We started 2020 at the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert Underground Summit up in Redmond, Washington, connecting with incredible educators. Traveled to FETC in Miami, Florida, connected with folks there, did a bunch of presentations at the Microsoft booth in the Microsoft room, and just connecting with incredible educators, talking about ways that they can amplify student voice. We were over in London for the BET show, which is a huge expo hall floor, and did, I think we had 6 sessions sharing how you can use Flipgrid to empower your students, support, creative pathways for folks to sort of level up teaching and learning, as well as empower people to share their voice, right? Then we did some site visits, and Adam and Jess went off to Spain, and George and I went off to Norway and connected with incredible student voice ambassadors over there in Europe, back to England, over to Wales. We connected with the Wakelet team, had a ton of events just connecting with folks who are using Flipgrid in their communities to support their students. So it's been insane. And then the team was at TCEA in Austin, Texas. So January was full of connections, celebrations, student voice, and Flipgrid fever in the most epic way.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and speaking of social media, I don't know, but like just checking all of your guys' stuff out, it was like a way to make all of the rest of us like feel super jealous.
Yeah.
It was like, man,
where are you now? You're doing what? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that's really special, is getting to celebrate people in their community. So going to visit schools and being in classrooms and seeing where educators are making magic happen every day is such a special part of what we get to do. So I feel incredibly lucky to get to, it's long flights and it's travel, and that's not always glamorous, but getting to be in different places with our community is incredibly special, and it's something I will never take for granted.
Very good.
So the next question would be, what's your favorite part of working at Flipgrid, aside from all the luxurious travel and conferences and everything?
It's the people. It's the people. People are my passion. I 100% believe that we're better together. In my classroom, I went one-to-one in 2010 with my first grade scholars, and the devices we were using were those iPod Touch first generation. Oh, wow. We didn't even have a camera on them. So we had to plug in these teeny tiny microphones, and immediately having my students share their authentic voice for an authentic audience, that became my why. So empowering people to share their voice, student voice, teacher voice, any voice, empower every voice. I love that I get to share my excitement and my passion for people being authentic and sharing those aha moments, those learning moments. It's the people, it's the community, and it's a community that's rooted in what we're all passionate about, which is amplifying voice and empowering others.
That's awesome. I'm trying to imagine an iPod Touch. That's just, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Those are so, when you think about how far technology's come since then, I mean, like, I'm curious, what all did you do in the classroom with an iPod Touch?
I started with book talks. This is actually a really funny story. It was oral language fluency. 87% of my students were English learners, so I wanted to give them creative ways for them to not only level up the phonics, phonemic awareness, like those reading skills, but to empower them in creative ways. So we started with book talks, and that quickly transformed into what I called virtual reading buddies. And we started using Skype to have our students connect from one side of the classroom to another and do like collaborative book studies. And then the next teacher got excited and the next wing and got on board. And I used to dream of the day I could create an app that my students could use to talk to each other, share book talks, share their learning. And it's just this beautiful serendipitous pathway that I have found myself now as part of Team Flipgrid getting to work and support a platform that does that in so many more ways. So we started with book talks, and then it was anything my students could create. And back in the day, we used this this app called Strip Designer, which was just a little comic book, like a comic book layout. And we made all kinds of creative projects, whether it was discussing compound words or high frequency words. Apps that allowed students to create was what transformed the ownership that my students put into their own learning, to level up their engagement, to level up the retention of information. Anything they could create, we just went crazy with it.
That's awesome. Oh, that's cool. I know, it's just amazing what you can, like, the more you start getting into it, and I think that's what teachers have to like let go of, if they're really hesitant about technology, is they have to like start somewhere, use it, and like learn what it can do, and then then it becomes like this open door for so many possibilities like that open up, that you can just explore, and you just don't have to limit yourself or feel fear stuff as much as you used to.
Well, and what I love about that story is that you wanted to be innovative and you wanted to do something more, and so here comes this iPod Touch, and you're finding every which way to be innovative with it. And it's so cool to see somebody so inspired by something so, like you were saying, I mean, think of how far technology has come, but it's so simplistic in terms of what it could do to take it to where you did. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, and the cool thing is one idea sparks another, and that's the beautiful thing about being a connected educator is I don't have all the ideas and I don't have all the answers, but I can go to my PLN, I can go to the friends I'm connected with on social and say, hey, what are you doing? Or, hey, here's an idea, how can I transform it? And that's the beauty of sort of like the transformative change that has happened over the last decade in terms of people trying something new, stepping outside their comfort zone, seeing how it can transform both teaching and learning. And then this like exponential share possibility because of social media. It's transforming everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it turns everything into a viral moment.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely. And which is a wonderful transition, because now, like, this is just gonna go right into the social media part of this. So that was beautiful how you just managed to almost seamlessly go straight into this. So like right into our discussion today.
I mean, we did show her for half a second. She took notes.
We did. I don't know. Yeah, possibly. But like, so think about like back when you were in the classroom. What part did social media play while you were still there?
Well, what's funny is in my time hop yesterday, a post from 6 years ago popped up about a newspaper article about the way my first graders were using technology. And I think I'm going to say with air quotes, back in the day, information was spread in different ways, right? So whether it was word of mouth, in-person training and sharing ideas, a newspaper article, a professional development, which all of these things still exist and are still very meaningful and valuable. I joined Twitter in March of 2012 at the Q conference. So Q is our affiliate in California, and I was in a session and the presenter said, if you are a teacher and you are not on Twitter, you need to be. And I joined that day, and I didn't understand how to use Twitter for most of 2012. And I was doing, cool things in my classroom and sharing it with people in my district and local events like Orange County Q, San Gabriel Valley Q, the Q conference. But I wasn't sharing on social until somebody said, if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And that's a famous quote. I don't know who it's attributed to, but you hear it all over the place. Oh, yeah. And it's true. If you don't tell your story, someone else will. And that sort of got put into our minds as a staff in Southern California. All of the teachers, we talked about this in a professional development session, because I was teaching at a Title I school that was a high English learner population. We were on the the west side of town. 3 rival gangs were targeting our students starting at 4th grade. It was a hard neighborhood to teach in, and we started this one-to-one program in 2010, and we started noticing this radical shift and this transformation of learning on our class and in our classrooms and on our campus. And in those first 3 years of a one-to-one program, we got out of program improvement. We became an Apple Distinguished School, Title I Academic Achievement Award School. All these changes started happening, and people in leadership were saying, if you don't tell this story, someone else will. Because somebody might look at a school, might look at a specific population or a neighborhood and say, well, what's happening there? And incredible things are happening in schools everywhere. So we wanted to own the narrative. We wanted to be the people letting the world know the incredible things that our school was doing. So social media allowed us to do that, and getting connected beyond our own classroom walls, beyond our own school boundaries, allowed us to share that story.
Very cool. I like that.
That's really cool. So then, would you say Twitter was your second platform? Were you on something first then?
I mean, maybe my personal Instagram, but it was sort of like, and of course Facebook, and of course MySpace before that. Oh yeah, of course.
Your top 6 friends or something like that, or your top 7 friends?
Oh my gosh, remember that? I remember like hacking the code on MySpace to change the design.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't know anything about coding, and now I'm doing this, and it's changing the way it looks. So yeah, I guess I mean, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter were my 3 go-to, and Twitter is probably still my social of choice. I love them all though.
Sure. I mean, I feel like the user base in Twitter is way more active than that of Facebook, and it seems, in my opinion, more structured to use Twitter. But I think that structure brings way more collaboration versus Facebook. I think things get lost in the noise. I'm not.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe we're gonna cover some of these different platforms in a little bit, kind of like to go over and say what are some advantages, disadvantages type of things. But I think you're bringing a good overview of that perspective is to say, I think Twitter has I personally, I don't use Twitter for personal uses. Basically, it's almost all educational.
Yeah. Same.
Oh yeah. So how important would you say social media is with your job?
Oh, it is my community. It is my global community of friends and collaborators, people I talk with all the time, all day long around the world. The beautiful thing about social media related to my job is that it not only is a celebration of the incredible things happening in education communities around the world, but it's a support system too. It's a sharing of resources. It's a sharing of ideas. It's a celebration of the hard work. I love to say the heart and hustle that educators bring to classroom communities and schools every single day. But if you are familiar with Flipgrid and the way that we're utilizing social, that hashtag Flipgrid Fever, that's our community. And that hashtag was started by an educator in Minnesota. It just was a comment she made, a tweet she put out, and that hashtag is the community. So it's where I hang out, it's where I work, it's where I share, it's where I think out loud, it's where I celebrate, it's all the things.
So this is you guys, as far as so I know you guys have your own personal ones too, but you guys all share, right, the Flipgrid social. Do you guys take turns as far as who's in charge of that and posting for that?
Yeah, so sometimes this is a little bit of a mystery to people, is who is on what day, and it's become a game where some people are like, oh, I wonder if who's that tweeting. I think I know who's on that day. But the engagement team, we're all under Joey Tarleson, George Maluka and Adam Parker Goldberg, Jornay Armont, Jess Boyce, myself, and our new teammate Michael. We are the engagement team on Team Flipgrid, so our job is to support the community. One of those things is by utilizing social media to support our community. So I'm not going to tell you who's on what day, but it's a mix of people, and you'll start to maybe see individual personalities come out. But I love getting to support the Flipgrid community and educators beyond even the Flipgrid community on that platform. It was one of the first things we took on when we joined the team, and it was incredibly intimidating because of the size of the community. But beyond that, you want to know what was even cooler? I fell in love with Flipgrid all over again when I started helping with the Twitter, because I just saw on so much larger of a scale what educators were doing, and around the world, the way that they were using Flipgrid to amplify voice and support their scholars. And I just fell in love with Flipgrid all over again because of the community. And I mean this 100% when I say it. I cry happy tears every single day when I see what people are tweeting. It's so incredibly inspiring.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I think what we could take from that too, though, is this, like, you realize how connected that company is. Like, when you tweet something and you put that hashtag out there, or you tag Flipgrid in your posts, I mean, you get a response very soon, which I think is just awesome. And that's why your community is like so huge, and why it's been built up over that is because you guys are so supportive, and you guys are doing an awesome job making sure that that connection stay in place, and you're supportive, and you're offering ideas and just positive praise towards others, which I think is something that's missing from some places. And there's like that disconnect from companies to the client base, is just like to say, hey, like, how you using our stuff? And like I love the fact that you guys always highlight that, and you're always sharing and just giving people shout outs and other things like that.
So that feedback loop is incredibly important to us in terms of hearing from our community, the feedback that we receive from educators, the feedback students give their teachers and teachers pass on to us. One of my friends in California, Ben Cogswell, says, feedback is the breakfast of champions. And I love that mindset, because we're lifelong learners, right? And we're constantly growing and constantly improving, and we take to heart the feedback that is shared with us, and our development team and our engineers, our leadership top down, we value that feedback, and it is so meaningful that it is what drives the updates and improvements across our platform.
That's cool. You know, and with all the companies I've have to work with, it's refreshing to see such a connected and engaged group of individuals. Like, there's so many different places where I go, and you're lucky if you'll ever see a response on Twitter, let alone a response to an email. You know what I mean? It's you know, a week or two down the road, you'll get some sort of feedback, but you guys are almost instantaneous, and that's fantastic. Like, it's refreshing as a user of Flipgrid and a teacher to have that constant contact, that you have that support network there available for you. So. Well,
I had my own fangirl moments. I remember when the Flipgrid account followed me on social, and I remember getting responses and thinking, like, this is so cool. This is so cool that this product and platform and community I love so much is reaching back out to me. And these are all the feels moments, like to find myself on this side of it where I get to connect back on behalf of our team. I swear to you, I mean, I have tears in my eyes right now, and I don't want to start crying, but it's something that's so incredibly special to me.
Well, that just makes it real. I think that's, and that's just a testament to you guys about how awesome it is. So.
And here's the first tears of the podcast.
Thank you, Flipgrid.
We're just crying right now.
We should do one of those cool like YouTube magic tricks where we pretend to hand you a box of like tissues.
Like off the side of the screen.
Here, I'll
Probably doesn't come across as well on the podcast version, right? Okay, so maybe a little shift here, but like when you think personally, because like we talk about, like screen time and how much you're on your device and how much social media connectedness can you have type of thing, but like how do you disconnect from work and how do you like separate your work and because you're so connected with social media, how do you make that a part of you where it's not like consuming you?
This is a fascinating question. And when I have it figured out, I'll let you know.
Well, I want to say really quick, I almost wonder if that's not a shift in culture, so to speak. Like, I mean, even with us, you're essentially like a 24-hour employee because you're always engaging with different members and different teachers and different students and different, I mean, for you facilitating different things in terms of the Flipgrid social media component of it, it's almost like a shift in how you view your work life.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is being a connected educator, there is this interesting ebb and flow of work/personal because I have been connected to my EDU community for so long on social. I mean, I would say everybody is a friend IRL in real life, and I have the great privilege of supporting them in the work that I do. So in terms of structure and balance, I, as a TOSA in California, always told teachers I was working with, you'll never get to the ends of the internet. So take the stress off of yourself. We're not, I love to say push all the buttons, do all the things, but we'll never get to the end. So the pressure is coming from ourselves, putting it on ourselves. And if I need to disconnect, I love hammock time. I love reading a book. I love going to walk at the beach, riding my beach cruiser outside. I have an almost 2-year-old niece, and when she says, "TT, come play," man, I will put my phone down and walk away and go play with her for 5 minutes as a brain break because I gave brain breaks to my students. And you don't have to be on 100% of the time. Building in play, building in that balance, it's a purposeful choice. So I would encourage people to be aware, and you have to create that structure and balance, whether it's time blocking in your calendar or realizing you'll never get to everything on the internet or social media, so don't try. But have fun doing it, and what's meaningful and real, give of your heart and of yourself in the moment, and circle back where you need to fill in gaps,
Excellent advice.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a hard one. If you could only pick one, it's the desert island thing. You're on a desert island, you only have one social network. What are you gonna use?
Okay, you guys are putting me in this position where I have to make a choice. One, stranded somewhere, and I have to choose one. This is so stressful because much like my recent Instagram poll, my Twitter poll, I have a hard time choosing one thing because of FOMO. But I'm going to go back to my childhood and have my memory of wanting to be a photojournalist for National Geographic. And I love photography, pictures. I'm a visual learner. So Instagram, I would probably choose Insta if I had to choose one, simply because the visual element that adds so much context to the story. And of course, then I think I feel bad for leaving out Twitter because I love Twitter and I maximize emojis and videos and pictures in Twitter too. So you guys I can't choose just one. I choose all the things.
There's just so many of them nowadays too. It's just hard to choose, but I was just curious. I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind that you might choose Instagram because you have a little bit more, I don't know, freedom with your posts and you don't have to limit your characters and all that kind of thing. So I was kind of wondering if that's what you were going to say.
So the funny thing is, a couple years ago, I really tried to use the idea of micro-blogging because I am not successful at writing a blog every day. I'm not successful at having long-form content. It's something I personally struggle with. So I was using the Pic Collage app to post microblogs and helping, teachers have their students microblog. And Instagram is that platform to me as well, with the power of the story and clicking into an Insta story to see what context is being shared. So I'm going to go Team Insta 2020, but give all my love to Twitter as well.
All right, there you go. And now, so we're going to kind of bring it to the point where we're going to say, okay, so how do teachers use social media in general type of things? And then maybe we're going to kind of go over some different services that are out there, how we use them, how you see it being used, some advantages, disadvantages. But you brought up, because you did this genius thing the other day where you threw out a Twitter poll, which I loved and I thought was great, and to talk about how teachers use social media in general. And I don't know if you I've got the results in front of me, but I don't know if you remember what your, oh, there you go. See, like, I should have
Connected
I don't even
educators.
know why I asked. But like, give us some insight on what you found out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was my first ever Twitter poll. I don't recall ever running one before, so I thought this will be a really fun way to get some just feedback from my community. And for 24 hours, I ran a poll. It said, I'm curious, please help. Teachers, how do you use social? This info is for an upcoming podcast, which we're recording right now. Yeah. And then there were 4 choices. I learn all the things. I share ideas and content. I lurk, but I also learn. And I am not sure ... yet. So with 155 votes, the most selected option with 51% was I share ideas and content. But you want to know something interesting?
Sure.
A lot of folks said, I do A and B. I learn all the things and I share ideas and content, and people were upset about that. And
I was watching some of those comments too, and I know they were like, hey, I want to choose both. And sometimes you can't choose both.
Exactly. And then I said, well, maybe that's part of my master plan, and I'm really kind of digging into the psychology behind it. Do you see yourself as somebody who's there primarily to learn and to soak in the information, or are you putting out content? And I didn't, to all honesty, I didn't purposefully delineate between the two, but you can't just do all the things and have it be a one-question survey.
True. Right.
I love that somebody said, I'm not sure yet, because I didn't get Twitter when I first started, and it took a year and another session at Q13 for people to fully explain it to me, for me to understand it. I love that people say I lurk, but I also learn, and that's how I tell people to get started. Dip your toes in. But I learn all the things speaks to the volume of incredible shares across the EDU community, the value of a community hashtag, and ways to get connected to people. But I kind of am happy that the results showed that and it's just 51%, so just over halfway, that folks are saying I share ideas and content. And to me, that's sharing is caring. It's better together, and the reciprocation of it is learning. So A and B truly go together, but when you share ideas and content, it's making the whole EDU world go round.
Gosh.
Oh, totally.
And then there's so much, like, even just an idea can spark some imagination of your own and give you a chance to like put your own spin on stuff too. So I think it's not, I feel like in some regards, social media is like, and we'll talk about Facebook here in a second, but I think Facebook's kind of turning into this like reshare zone a little bit, like personal wise, not necessarily so much like education wise, but like it's just a lot of reshare. So you see people and there's not a ton of original content on there as much as there used to be. But what I love about the EDU part is that people put that out there, but it's not necessarily like, well, I'm going to steal that kind of thing. It's like,
sure,
I'm going to use that, or I'm going to take that and twist it so I can make it work in my own classroom. Like the Merrills, that's a great place for like a jumping off point for people to learn from them, because I think they use social media well as, that's part of their way. They share wonderful content, and then they've got their book now too, which shout out to their book. It's great. I'm still working my way through it, but it's a great book. But I think there's so many cool things that teachers can learn on there, and it's free. Really, honestly, you don't have to go pay for a lot of this stuff. You can go get an idea from social media itself in a free context.
Yeah, I love that. There's a whole movement on social. Teachers give teachers, and it speaks to the idea of we're better together, and here's an idea, take it, remix it, make it your own, because it's an impact and a support for students. And that's what we're in the business of, is supporting our students.
Right.
True. Very true. Okay.
Oh my gosh, we have so much more to discuss with Anne. So please tune in next week for part 2. We are going to discuss some social media platforms just a little more in depth and maybe throw out a little challenge that you're all welcome to join in as well. So hope we can see you there.